This is April 6, 2018, an Immortality group. We're going to go in together as a group tonight. First off, I want to frame it that we will hit the perfect bullseye of God's will for this time together. Secondly, we do welcome any men in white linen, actually all men in white linen that have a part in this particular meeting tonight, have a sense that there's great anticipation, and there are many that have a part of this, and we welcome you all to be here tonight, as well as we honor you, Father, Jesus, and Holy Spirit. Any angels, anybody, any other that has a part in this, you are welcome to have a part in this. We had three specific questions that we've briefly spoken about. First one, do we need to have become one with each of the 12 heavenly cities before we can have immortality? That's the first question. Second question is, we're looking to have understanding of the various types of bodies and how they might relate to immortality and give us insight into immortality. And the third question has to do with Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration. Do we need to go there to encounter that? And does that transfiguration have something to do with this question of immortality? Overall thing is that we are looking to enter into the fullness of immortality as forerunners and bring the ecclesia into this as a whole at the proper time. So having said that, we block out other realms, and we are in heavenly places at this time together. We've framed these questions. I think the next step would be to ask if anybody has a sense of direction here from something you're seeing or sensing as we begin here that would give us a place to approach these three questions from. Has something come into your mind? Have you heard something? Have you seen something that would go from these three initial questions to getting answers? We're all equal priests. Don't hesitate to put it out there. We will consider all that's coming to us.
Well, I was actually engaging not just a little while ago also, and I see still a perfectly white staircase ascending, and I'll lay this out there. I believe it's leading to a high place, and I believe it's wisdom's heights.
Thank you. Does anybody else have further revelation at this point, or any revelation that goes along with that?
I felt like in front of me was a very big like a checkerboard, and there were like white squares and black squares and white squares and black squares. And I just kind of had this image that it just was very, very large. And that was pretty much it.
We've had that image in other encounters that I've been on, and I interpret it as being the big picture plan that God has. This has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen, kind of thing. Interesting, thank you. Anybody else?
I saw Enoch standing next to Jesus.
I saw Enoch too. I saw Enoch and Paul.
It's interesting. I had a sense that the men in white linen may be a key to this tonight.
I saw Enoch and Paul too.
Okay, so we've got 3 confirmations on that. So we do specifically honor you, Enoch and Paul, and we are thanking you for joining us as part of this time together to help us accomplish what is meant to be done tonight, the full destiny for this time tonight. And we are going back into the was and bringing out the perfect plan for night, bringing it into the is and then into the now for the perfect plan for this time tonight. Any sense of how to approach Enoch and Paul on this other than what I've just done? Anything more needs to be done? Does somebody see them doing something or gesturing to us in any way that would indicate that we are being given direction here?
I see them as transfigurated. I see them as Jesus was transfigurated. They're all light up beings.
Ah, okay. Yeah, Lee's giving confirmation on Enoch and Jesus and one other.
And I'm getting a sense that those other 2 questions, the key question to ask Enoch and Paul is around the bodies.
Okay. We have them present. Do you want to ask that question, Jane?
Yeah, well, we just honor you, Paul, Enoch. We honor you immensely for your contribution, for your sacrifice. And we're just so thrilled that you want to engage with us now. And we just drink your wine. We ask for everything that is in your scroll and your sisters in our scroll. And we just bench with you now and bring to you this question around the bodies and a greater understanding and the depth. Are there many bodies? Do they affect how we ascend? Do we ascend with the body? Do we everything about the body, really? We know nothing.
And we're getting at least 2 confirmations on the possibility of the transfiguration body being possibly one of the key parts of this question here. So we're listening here.
And also, I've got a sense that we are transfigured when we are in eternity and glorified in new earth. But I think I would just like to have confirmation of that. And we just open all our gates, so that we will not block off anything that you may want to say that we minimize or we say is silly or is not valid. We just open them to the fullest truth of what our destiny is and what we're entitled to.
Yeah, each of us desiring that in our heart right now, the fullness of our destiny, the fullness of this issue of body. We want the highest blueprint body.
Because we have seen a lot of, before we've seen standing on the edge of Eden and stepping into Eden is a critical part. And we have seen like a baptism of immortality in a bath, like a dry ice bath. For those that weren't aware of that, But again, we need confirmation on that from others, and a lot of others confirming those sorts of things.
I was seeing looking at a large tree or edge of a trees forest, but they're all it's just white. That transfigured thing, like a reverse black and white negative, dark being light and light being dark, and seeing what's an outline of a tree on the edge of a forest kind of thing with just being white.
Is transfiguration and glorification two different states?
I see right now when I asked Jesus with the many white linen, like I was asking you what happened at the Mount of Transfiguration, and I see Jesus as resurrected that physical body, but then he pulled his part of his the belly part of skin, he pulled it open, and I saw a part, like through that hole, I saw the transfiguration body inside there. I think he's letting me know what happened in transfiguration was that spiritual body was outside.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, that's the confirmation we've had. And Thomas, to your question, at the moment we are really sensing, yes, the transfiguration and glorification are different, because what we're seeing is the glorification is is when you get your full new earth body. So we can be transfigured as we engage heaven and see ourselves as a living being with the spirit on the outside and the body on the inside. But question's just coming to me. Are we really seeing ourselves as a spirit being, not the living being? Because to me, everything is, the body when on new earth seems a completely different kettle of fish. And so, and also we hear that the new earth and the new heaven come in the twinkling of an eye for everyone. That it seems to me that it's a complete metamorphosis of the body into a completely different state. And so that's another piece in the whole thing.
Bill, ever since we began, I saw the atmosphere very, very light, very, very not dense. It was not dense at all. It was very, very light. And the more we have progressed in this, when the lady said he pulled up his skin, and everything that I've been seeing, it's like the molecular structure of the atmosphere is very loose. The cells are not together. The atmosphere is not dense at all. There's a spaciousness amongst the molecular atmosphere as we've gone. And I think that is the spirit being rather than the light being. And that's what I've been seeing since the beginning, and it's progressed as we've gone on. That's what I've seen.
And Lisa says very fluid, and Tasha's sensing she saw Adam with his spirit on the outside and Jesus transfigured with his spirit on the outside. and hearing a vibrational frequency that is connected to the tree of life. So she's between the transfiguration and the tree of life, I can feel the vibration in my chest.
I think I'm getting some little bit of clarity on this, but please correct me if you think I'm wrong. And it all goes back to we have to understand what we were when in what stages of creation. And my revelation to date is that if we are operating in eternity, we're a spirit being. If we're operating outside of eternity, we could be in old heaven, we could be seeing ourselves as a living being, and we're seeing a transfigured spirit on the outside. And that's why we can often look white sometimes. Different. We can look in different sort of granular. We can look blue spirit. We can look different states. And then when we're in New Earth, then we're even a completely different being, because we're then with this original state, or maybe that is no, it's a different state, isn't it? Because it's not the state of when we were placed on the earth as a living being. We were placed for the old earth environment. So the body was designed for the old earth, and then we have our spirit on the outside. When we're in new earth, we are actually designed for a completely new environment. And so new earth body is like a mixture of all things plus additional, but taking away some old things. I'm feel very confident there's no organs. Body doesn't function like it does now. And so this answers why there's different bodies. Because there's our earthly body, there's our body inside the spirit as a living being, and then there's the new earth body, and maybe there's some others in between stages that we're not clear on.
Can I interject a question? Couple of questions, actually. May I?
Of course, yeah.
Please.
So in the midst of your conversation and going back and forth, I was reminded about when Jesus was talking to Mary, "Stop clinging on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father." So did anybody go over that? Like, I'm really curious about his resurrected body. How is his body different from his before cross body? He has, like we have seen it, transfigured, walked on the water, walked across the cloud. I'm sure he has no problem levitating. So has anybody gone over why he was saying to Mary, "Do not cling on to me," for it because I don't want to go back to this other conventional teaching saying they had he was not he didn't get glorified body yet or something at the time. And so when he was staying like 40 days after the resurrection, he showed that he ate fish and bread in front of disciple. He showed that he appeared, walked through the wall, locked door, and appeared. So has anybody processed all that and seen the difference? Discuss about that.
What I'm hearing from you, there's a possibility that there are three separate types of bodies in that narrative. There's the body that he had before he died, then the body he had after he has been resurrected, but before he's ascended, and then there's something after that. That's what you're saying, I think, right?
Well, I'm just questioning about the statement when he was mentioning, like he was resurrected. He went into the center of the earth, the Bible said, and also like released the captive from like Abraham's bosom. And after he did all that in like 3 days, that's another mystery. Anyway, but when he came out of it on Sunday, the resurrection Sunday morning, when he encountered several different disciples, different way, and specifically Mary, for some reason, saying, "Do not touch me, do not cling on to me, for I have not yet ascended to Father." And that seems like something. There is a turning point where he came back from the center of the earth, on earth, but yet and then he ascended in front of the disciple after 40 days. But before that, for some reason, this said, "I have not yet ascended to Father." Because he did, obviously, and then he came back and said to Thomas, "Touch me, my side, put your hands into me." There was no, like, you can't touch me or anything, like what he was saying to Mary.
Can I just add something to that? You just said something that was very significant to me then, Bill, when you said about him coming back at that point with a different body, because I had been wondering about that myself in reading over the last couple of weeks, and wondered that question of why was it when he came back and he was seen by Mary and the women and then the two other guys on the road, that they didn't recognize him. So that, I think, helped join the dots for me.
Just something comes to me right now, like that on the Mount of Transfiguration was probably his spirit being radiating out, like as the way we are as a spirit being right now in heavenly places. But I'm sensing right now, as all of you are talking, when he was resurrected with his physical body, he had his spirit being was clothed with spiritual celestial body. There's a difference, I think, of what we saw, what we read and see through the word in Matthew chapter 17 and from how he's clothed at that time when he was resurrected, he's clothed with a celestial spiritual body. As a spirit being, we don't have a spiritual body right now, right? But we actually still glow in the realm of the spirit. But I also have seen my spiritual body in the heavenly places. I think a lot of you might have seen your own spiritual bodies too at times, right? Because he was conceived by Holy Spirit in Mary's womb, but he did not have a spiritual body either. Also, all day today and last few days, I really sense Holy Spirit is inside of our DNA, which is a body in our body in a quantum level, like in the what scientists call it junk DNA area. But it's actually he has come to reside in our body. Inside of DNA. That's a sense. I kept on seeing pictures and things like that every once in a while. I want to know what you sort of like sense from this.
I'm not sure I'm tracking with a lot of this dialogue, only because, well, one, I can't understand it, but secondly, I see it's a different ball game. Going back to how Jesus was and what happened is not the key question now, because we're not trying to go back to the period or the situation when Jesus came on earth and copy that. We've got a complete new dynamic going on, that we're in latter days, and we are now looking at restoring, not back to that time, but back to the original blueprint, which is not even the garden east of Eden, and it is not even Eden, because I see in Eden where God breathed into us, we were a living being, we had a spirit on the outside, but we actually had a body, a physical body, but that was Eden. And now we're actually being called to embrace new earth, which is a completely, so Eden flows into new earth. We've seen that. There's a huge connection. That's why if you've not engaged Eden, where there's no tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that Eden, which we're calling God's garden, then it seems to flow from that. You go into Eden, you get these experiences, you understand the original blueprint, and well, it's not even the original because it was the first one, and now the new earth is the new blueprint. So there seems to be you go into Eden, then you get experiences, and then it gives you great understanding of new earth and the body. And then when you go into new earth, you see how you operate. We've done a lot of encounters in new earth, and the way the body operates in new earth is really different. It is similar to some of the encounters we have in heaven currently, but it has a whole new dynamic of, you'd have to really listen to a lot of the encounters we've had on new earth to grasp how it differs. But it's like a spirit being, but it's all in one, and it's like a body that's it has shape, has form, but it doesn't have like organs and functions, and it has but it's everything's one. So you seem to be able to just morph and change and split in half, and you become something else, and everyone entangles you like the bench of one, and it's just the most bizarre thing until you've engaged it. And I
Right.
think that's how you get to know what the new body's like, not the transfigured body, the glorified body.
I wanted to go back. I just quickly wanted to go back to the he's ascending, and how two angel was saying that his glorified body is how he's gonna come back with the cloud of witnesses, and rule 1,000 years, also going back to Revelation. And then all who were resurrected at the end will also have resurrected body, which is a glorified body, and they will reign on a new earth and also in new heaven. So
Yeah, though that raises another question that's more around how does end times play out? I think what we are starting to ask that question, and we're going to do some end time encounters, because it's very, very deep and complex, and even the whole Jesus coming on the clouds, have we interpreted that right, and the rapture and all that. It's a very deep issue, but I think what we're trying to do here is not look at what will happen at the end times for everyone, but what can we get right now as a forerunner on the forerunner's timeline. What can we engage, and can we choose? Because some of us have seen that we can actually choose to say that's an end to our physical body right now, and we disappear like Enoch, and we go into Eden, and we say, right, that's enough. I'm going to reside there until the end times come. So
ask you a question, Jane.
That's clear.
Can I ask you a question, Jane?
Yeah.
I reckon all the experiences in New Earth and Eden and some of these places I've been to several times, and what I notice is, what are you saying, that we are going to have a different kind of body than what Jesus said? Because I think the reason I was talking about what kind of bodies he had when he was resurrected is that is exactly the types of bodies that we are going to have. All these are different bodies that he had, that we will have, because I've seen him morphing in heavenly places.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I've seen him like as a standing figure, and then all of a sudden he will go to another realm, and he was in all different places at the same time. And when I saw that, I was going, oh, what's happening? And so how he was resurrected, how his body was at resurrection is what we are all going to have. So my question was, is there a different type of body that we were looking for, or we were like, I'm just curious, like, am I missing out something? Would you tell me?
I don't know.
Are we in this group saying that we are going to have some sort of body different from him in New Earth?
Oh, look, I sense that it probably will be this similar. I find it very hard to engage that understanding for myself by looking at what he was like back in that period, because all I can do is observe. I can't actually be that body. Whereas when we've actually gone into New Earth, I've embraced that body, and it means something to me. Can you see what I mean? Where I'm coming from? That's why I find it
totally
very
understand.
difficult just to go back and do, link all the historical things that we know about Jesus's life. That
What
I
you
find
have
that.
experienced, I totally agree with you. We were morphing and we are doing all those things, but that is not in any way different than, but we are only doing it in heavenly places. We want to do it here as well. And what we were experiencing, I've seen Jesus doing it in different places, in heavenly places.
Yeah. Yeah, and the only confusion I get with Jesus's body as well is because he always was, I mean, to me, he always was fully transfigured all the time anyway. So it all gets very confusing. That's why I find it
So
easier to go in for ourselves, how we experience it in these environments.
Jane?
And I also think that Jesus was transfigured a couple of times, but only once was recorded. And even with Moses' face was transfigured. When they saw him and he was shining and they asked him to cover his face, I believe it was transfiguration.
Mm.
Jane,
Yeah.
on the chat here, Elizabeth shared something a while back that she had had an encounter with Melchizedek, who spoke to her about 7 different spiritual bodies.
Mm.
So I just
Oh,
wanted you to be aware of that. And the second point was, the other point was, some folks were asking whether we should continue on with engaging Paul and Enoch with reference to this.
yes, I think we should. Yeah, we wouldn't get sidetracked from that. Oh,
Yeah.
can you share though, Elizabeth, any more? Because I've heard about these 7 bodies and I don't understand them.
I think, Jane, you might have experienced it too. You you might have seen your spiritual bodies, but have seen a different kinds of spiritual bodies, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's like all tiny droplets, but then sometimes it's like a milky white, like shining lights. There are a few different kinds of, I don't know, 7. I haven't experienced 7, but I'm totally open to that.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I feel different in different places.
And what about the cities? We take on the functions of cities. I think that also has something to do with how we are in our bodies when we're in those places too.
Yeah, maybe because we're getting greater and greater, whether you say awareness of the union or we are getting into union more, we actually see it differently.
One thing that seems clear to me, and that I saw in our last engagement where we experienced that union with Jesus, that oneness and the marriage union with Jesus, was that I saw it was spirit, soul, and body, not just spirit. And so when you look at John's expression of how he saw Jesus, and even, just that, and knowing that there's morphing and different things that can take place, I do see it in terms of that out of our union with Jesus and that intimacy, melding together spirit, soul, and body, not just spirit, in the heavenly realms, could manifest what we're looking for.
Yeah, because I get the sense that we're only a spirit being in eternity, but that's why we just residing in eternity is not the end story, and that's why when we begin to engage New Earth, we get a whole different encounters. So I think you have to constantly ask where you are and then try and relate that to the stages of creation.
Jane, can I clarify? Did you say all body will be only spirit body to be sustained in eternity? Could you repeat what you said?
Well, my understanding is that we all came from eternity. That was the original thing, and we were created, we were purely a spirit being at that point. Because Father hadn't created the earth, he hadn't breathed into us. So we were a spirit being. So when we go into eternity, we're engaging that original form, and we're getting in touch with what that feels like. And at that point, the physical body doesn't play a part. It doesn't mean that we don't have a. It doesn't mean we don't. I mean, we obviously have a body now, but we're just engaging that. We're going back into the was, so we're going out of time, and we're engaging in an encounter that shows us who we originally were out of time. And so that's why it all gets a bit confusing, and it's but it's still valid to understand these states, because it deepens your understanding of the different stages of creation. If you don't understand the different stages of creation, you simplify the story, and you make your encounters way more simple than you're actually entitled to that knowledge of what happened. So
I was
does that answer your question?
I was asking because the recent and I think it wasn't just the recent conference from Ian and Dr. O's that the body is important, and because there are other spirit beings who did not choose to come to Earth to have a body.
Yeah, exactly.
So we will have this glorified, resurrected, glorified body like Jesus in the eternity, because that's the difference, that we have volunteered to come here to on this earth. Well, it doesn't mean just this globe, but like you were saying in the beginning, the earth, that earth, and that will be the true, when he makes it new heaven and new earth, that will be the earth, not just this globe or the universe. Anyway, and we will reign. Who has this body will reign with him in eternity with this body, not like all the other spirit being who stay behind in Father.
Jen, that's a really...
Am I understanding wrong?
Well, I understand that everything will come together. All the spirit beings in eternity eventually will need to get a body and all be reunited on new earth. And that's some of the encounters has happened to us in various there's so many different stages of people who've died, had a body. I actually don't know about whether we've released bodies for those who are spirit beings in eternity, but I see that's a really key question. But my sense is there will no longer be, it's not going back to eternity, we will all be reunited. So in some sense, everyone in the spirit beings in eternity will need to get a new earth resurrected body to all be reunited and function in new earth, because new earth there'll be no barrier between new earth and new heaven. So everything has to amalgamate, and everything becomes out of time at that point. So everything comes together as one. So there's no different realms, and that's why all this confusion will go. And that's why some people now say they only operate out of new earth, because that they're seeing the end game as that, whereas a lot of us are are doing all the transitional thing, or we're not asking what period we're in, what time, are we out of time, are we in time, are we in lower heavens, are we in, we're not asking, we're just having an encounters, and therefore we're not understanding what we're seeing in terms of the big story. So you could even argue that it may actually be giving us, well, no, we do need to go into these different realms right now, because what we're trying to do is merge the Earth timeline with the final blueprint. And so that's why we're seeing it's still valid to go into these different things and govern and rule and do the different things there, and not just operate out of New Earth for ourselves as you know, we can engage and experience this right now, everything that we're entitled to experience. We still have a role to play for the whole of mankind to bring them all to that place. So that's why it gets incredibly confusing. But if you can embrace it, I've found that my spirit man has grown into this, and initially it really overwhelmed me and I didn't want to embrace it. Now I actually can, I don't find it too overwhelming, and so I would encourage anyone who's listening, if you're really getting lost with this, if you try and engage it with your spirit, you do grow into this grasping the concepts in a very general sense in your spirit, and then you can function in these different places in different ways, and you can reconcile why they're different, because you're also sometimes you're going back, like we've been led a lot, we've been in New Earth and now we're being led back along the Forerunner timeline to go back and do stuff that's in the book of Revelation, which will then bring the whole of mankind into that end time New Earth. So yeah,
Jane, I think we've discussed quite a bit, which helps us to see the larger background behind the questions that we're doing today. And it does raise hundreds of other questions, probably. Question I have at this point, is anybody seeing anything more right now from Paul and Enoch that would point us to further revelation that would come to us by encounter? Because I think we've probably gotten as far as we can by dialogue here.
yes,
And Jane has clearly given us the background, so that those who didn't have the general idea of the background do have some idea now from the conversation we've had so far. But I'm wondering if Enoch and Paul will give us specific answers to our specific questions if we engage them further, if that's something that people agree to.
I agree in encountering Paul and Enoch.
yes, because I think, I mean, I do think they've given us a download as well. I think we've got clarity on at least 3 or 4 different types of bodies. So I think we almost need to just ask, if there's, say, 7, ask, are there any more? And what do we... Do we just step into Eden if we want to become immortal?
May I saw them handing us something. Is this a good place to tell you guys what?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I saw Paul and Enoch handing us white flowers. They look similar to hibiscus, but maybe a lily as well. And as I was looking at the flowers, I saw the very intricate veins in the flowers. And then I saw the flowers turn translucent. I don't know if that leads us anywhere, but So that's just what I was seeing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else seeing more from Paul and Enoch? Lisa's pointing out that hibiscus is Rose of Sharon, which of course is found in the Song of Solomon. The Shulamite says, I am the Rose of Sharon. And Lisa points out it also means perfect bride, which points us to the answer to our question, Jane, that you do have to go through all 12 heavenly cities to become the perfect bride before you can be transfigured, if I'm interpreting that correctly. The white is the perfect bride, followed by the becoming transparent, which is, I think, what we're talking about as the goal here. If I'm interpreting that correctly, would anybody else we agree on that? That is actually the answer to the question there?
I think sometimes in some cities and discoveries, I've seen my being sometimes more transparent than others. And I just think it's getting to the fullness.
Yeah.
The fullness, some of us, because some of us have gone through that baptism in the bath and gone into Eden and into New Earth. And like with the cities, it's kind of like we've gone to the end and we're coming back through again for the rest to catch up in us. Well, I know I am.
I think that's an overall general pattern that all of us will probably have to do. We didn't get all the goodness out of all 12 cities by just going through. We need to go back and actually, I see that entering a city is entering into Jesus in that aspect of that city. But when you sit down on that throne and spend some time there, then he actually fills you with that aspect of that city. We need to go back and have that filling process where he fills us up with each of those 12 aspects in each of those 12 cities.
There's a filling up and there's a letting go. You know, like we said before about Babylon, you know, entering the city to be full of God and untethers us from all that Babylonian headship. We're taking on the headship of Jesus and untethering from the other headship. And I think in that process too, it's doing a transforming of our bodies.
And can I add to that? Lee and I were actually talking about this just before coming on to the encounter. And I said to her, well, you know, Jesus did say to the disciples that the kingdom of God operates as the man sows the seed. And that's what I was saying to her in the encounter that we did yesterday. We saw ourselves transparent, but we weren't as transparent as the others who were around us. And we had a sense that they had gone there a lot more often than we had. And so it came to me as though, well, you sow a seed. So the more that we enter back in, and we just do it like we know, like just on the earth, when you do things by faith, the more you do it, the more that you receive back from that in greater measure.
Wow.
That is true, yeah.
Yeah, I'm resonating. We do need to go through these 12 cities for multiple purposes. I'm not quite clear though whether that means we go through them all, then we're transfigured, or no, we must be glorified. We must be glorified, which is more than transfigured. If we're saying glorified is the new earth state, and transfigured is almost like an interim measure,
Yeah, you're correct, Jane. I believe it's more glory, because we go from glory to glory. And I think that's what I'm really meaning. It's not really, I wasn't using the right terminology.
I want to know what Enoch is. Enoch's immortal.
Yes.
Enoch kept stepping in and stepping out. He's there at Eden saying, "Come on through." He was before Jesus came. I mean, I know, as I said to Lisa, Jesus' blood was slain before the foundation of the earth, because he was before Jesus physically came here and he went back up. But I just keep wondering about Enoch and the fact that he's immortal and what body, and all of that.
Yeah, and are they only still in Eden, or are they on New Earth?
Yeah.
Because my feeling is now they're all actually New Earth with their glorified bodies. Any who've chosen to come to that state.
Yeah. We went to a place yesterday, and I don't know where we were. It was something I've never encountered ever before. And we'd gone through the bath, the Immortality bath. We went through cryogenics. We physically went through it as we were on this ascension. And things were happening physically to us as well. And we ended up at this place, and there were other light beings around us. As Lisa said, Grace was with us, and some were more transparent, we're all like at different levels, but I really strongly sensed that they too had been on the same journey. They too had basically said to Enoch, teach us. And they were standing there with us, and then Jesus was there with us. And we didn't know what was behind these big gates at all. And, we're a bit hesitant. It took us a while to actually finally get the gates open. And when we stepped in, we were absolutely astounded at the thousands of people that were in there. And we went into this golden river, and we started translocating.
Wow.
In the physical realm as well. Grace got a bit spooked. She said she was feeling a bit spooky because she could see Lisa and I in her place in where she lives, and Lisa could sense us standing there in her place, and I was like, well, help me, guys, because I can't sense you in my place yet, and it opened up something. And then I just turned off the recorder, and we practiced a bit more after that. But wherever this place was, there was such jubilation. And I don't know if I'd love someone to tell me what this means, because I've never, ever experienced this. When we went inside and saw these people, we all looked the same, as like we all looked the same. But for the first time ever, I looked at people and I saw nationalities, which astounded me. What is this?
I wonder if you could lead us. Do we all get a sense of Amanda being led into this place now? Because that might actually really answer a lot of questions.
Yes, I sense that too.
I agree.
Yeah, and asking Enoch to teach us too, I think, is a key step we need to do first.
I agree.
Well, we've done that already, really, haven't we? Yeah.
Anybody that hasn't, though, I think that's something that we should do.
And I'm just amazed. I want to confirm that the Holy Spirit is really working within the ecclesia. All the people, actually, I have recently had another ascension of how he was leading us to how transfigure, transmutate, transform our body. So this is confirmation. Thank you for sharing that, Lee.
Thanks, because you hesitate, but the point is, got to get over. We get over ourselves, and even though we don't understand these things, we've got to put ourselves out there and put these encounters out there.
Yeah, yeah,
We all need it, and we need each other.
yeah.
And we all got missing bits, and we might think we don't like. When we got off, Lisa said, "Oh, I know, I got the name of those two angels," and I said, "Well, you got to say it, because that can open up another whole revelation for someone."
Yes. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay if we get things wrong or whatever. It's okay for that to happen, but we don't know what it's going to unlock for someone else.
Yeah. Absolutely. So how did you get there? What was the first, where were you to get to this other place? Do you know?
Get there, Grace, Lisa.
I did put the encounter on the Discovery page, chat page.
We went in the bath.
We went in a bullet.
No, but we went in the bath, that bath.
Well, in Eden.
Grace went, we went in the bath, but Lisa did the same thing. See, this is what I mean about, how we're all different. We saw the bath because both Grace and I have been in the bath before. Lisa, who hasn't, she was sitting at a diner drinking a milkshake.
Where though? Where?
That way, she looked down at the glass when it finished and thought we were going to get sucked up through that. So for us, it was still the same milky substance, which is something to do with this immortality portal. And, it was like we all got shown the same thing. We ended up in the same place, and we ended up in this silver bullet. That's the only way to say it.
Bronze bullet. But that was after encountering Enoch, who gave us a map, a compass, and gave Grace this strange spear thing. Which
became a macabre, or like some miniature form of Metatron's cube, I think, really the same sort of thing. We stepped into that, and we ended up going up very, very quickly, like literally could feel. We went through like a cryogenics on our actual physical bodies, like we were absolutely freezing. Then, there was the G-forces, all of those things in the physical as well. And we finally ended up at these big, huge gates in this place. And I was surprised, and we all saw the same gates, which was good confirmation, because I was surprised because these gates were black cast iron. And I was like, what is this place? And then,
well, shall we all just step in that bath? Because I think it'd be really good for everyone to either confirm that that's something valid for them as well, and then see what happens.
Actually, I've been seeing
Sounds like a portal.
for 2 days in a row. I saw it on Wednesday morning, and then I saw this with Lisa and Lee on Thursday. But I still haven't got a confirmation if that it's in Eden. That's the thing that I need to get a confirmation. It just doesn't seem like Eden to me. But
I just want to say that I just want to say I had an encounter with Enoch today, and I just want to say that this is confirmation, and he is so.
If I didn't make it clear before, I think I keep on sensing that what I initially understood while we are all talking, that transfiguration is different than his glorified body when he was resurrected. And his DNA, his physical DNA was needed as much as his spirit. His spirit being was being clothed with a glorified. This glorified, his resurrected body is his spiritual body and his resurrected body coming together in some mysterious way to make a glorified body. Because this glorified body is not the same as just the spiritual bodies that we see, or just a resurrection of somebody, dead person coming alive, because he poured his blood in the when he came into the heavenly places to present his blood, right? So, but he needed that physical DNA somehow. That's just a confirmation I have from another encounter from yesterday. When I was driving, that I just, that DNA was needed. We cannot ignore our physical body that we have right now. It's absolutely precious.
Yes, yeah.
Well,
That's
I had gotten cut off. I just wanted to say that Enoch is also excited about teaching us.
Oh,
This is definitely the time.
wow.
Yes.
And I can confirm that about
Well,
the time, because when I was sitting at the counter at the diner drinking the milkshake, I looked up and I saw a clock. And a lot of times when I see a clock, the clock then turns into Enoch. And then I saw Enoch coming towards me and Lee and Grace, and he looked and he said, "Now is the time." And I've heard that a fair bit over the last few weeks. Now is the time, and the time is now. And we were like, well, what's that mean? What do you mean now is the time? And then that's when it all went from there, the process that we undertook.
wow. So shall we all just step in this bath and even ask where you are, and if this is called a baptism of immortality, and see if you go anywhere. Maybe it's a portal to another form of body that we don't understand. Maybe the translocated body.
Yes, I'm in agreement.
So let's just all step in together and just share if you get anything happening to you.
Because it's such a large number of us, I see the bath as like a giant pool.
And it's sort of like a milky white substance liquid in the tub, as well as there's a liquid white, no, it's not liquid, I mean smoky white substance in the air. You can actually breathe in, and you can actually dunk yourself in it.
And Grace, didn't you say at the bottom of it there was a portal?
Yeah, that's when you and I, with others, ascended. And I don't want to say that part because I don't want that to be leading this group. Sometimes I just want to say as it's necessary so that it's a group experience. You know what I mean?
Well, Grace, I can confirm the portal that's at the bottom because I've been sucked up into it.
Okay, awesome. And do you sense where it goes? Because I want to be confirmed by other people too. I don't want to just say it and then, you know, because of I say it, it becomes the same thing. I don't want to influence anybody. Janet, did you sort of sense where it actually went to?
I'm engaging it now.
Okay, thank you.
This is Bob, and I'm engaging it as well. And all I can say is that when I went through, suddenly it was like I was a rifle bullet. You know how they rifle, they spin? And it's like wherever I'm going, it's like covering a huge distance, you know, like interstellar distance, huge distance in a very short time.
That's my experience too. It's very fast movement.
Well, to add confirmation to that, that it all ties in because, you know, there's no time. It's just increase and increase and increase. When we did this ascension yesterday, the object of the sphere turned into this macabre thing that we traveled very quickly in, and it was shaped as a bullet.
I sense it's eternity. I sense it's eternity.
I sense it's more everything in Metatron's cube. I feel like I'm going through all the plumbing that we ever did in all our encounters. We've done so many plumbing encounters and connecting one thing to another to allow the free flow. And I feel like I'm just going through all these tubes all over the place. That's not one place. I'm now. It's like I'm a body.
Isn't that the location of your, that's what I sense about the room itself, is actually at the center of where the Metatron's cube, in a way, it can be revolving around, but at the same time, the bottom of the bathtub, as Jen and I, I see it as it goes through to the new earth. But
Well, that would make sense that everything goes and pours into the new earth eventually.
But isn't this location at the center of the Metatron's cube, like where the eternity and infinity meet? But the room where this is in, like I just don't know if it's in Eden, because initially I didn't see this in Eden. I saw it on another place.
Where did you say, Harton, what that place was?
It's initially somebody said it's just a mystical experience, but I don't even know if there's such thing as a city of mystery, but it's a mystical component. But more I focus on it, it seems to be where all the revolving doors are, and this room itself, where the bathtub is at the center. But I could be absolutely wrong. It's just a sense I'm getting.
But in an encounter I had also, I saw that all the cities are around a revolving door. It exits into each door. It goes round.
Yeah. So I think it all in the end becomes the same place, like Eden. Eden is a city, but then becomes one of the 12 cities in this center of Metatron's cube with the revolving doors. So somebody could feel, if they've never experienced that revolving door Metatron environment, they could feel it's in Eden. But then somebody who's gone further could feel then it's in that Metatron's conglomeration of the cities. So that's why I think we can get conflicting things, but actually it's all the same. And it doesn't really, well, it's not the same, but it doesn't matter because it all becomes one in the end.
But in this, when I jumped in the milky water, what happened with me is that I became pieces. And a piece of me was in every city around the revolving door. And then I became one. And it's like I slided into a place which I think is New Age. in the end, like I ended in new earth with a glorified body.
Oh, that's really interesting. So it might be that actually we're doing the wrong thing then. Our ultimate aim should be to be going into new earth to ask for the glorified body, not going through Eden to disappear into Eden. Because most people are coming out of Eden anyway now, and the time has come to all gather in new earth. That's where you'd go anyway, so you'd end up going back down there.
I can confirm that, Jane, because I
Yes.
felt today the place that we ended up where this golden river was, which we sensed was glory, and the people were just increasing like glory to glory. I sensed it was new earth.
Yes, yes, because I have had several encounters with the Golden River, and I thought it was the River of Glory, but I just didn't know the location, so I didn't say anything.
Or wouldn't you say that the glorified body is the New Jerusalem, the wife of Christ, descending into the new earth? And isn't that union the expression, that perfect expression of what he looks like right now and who he is right now? In that, if we're one with him in perfection, then we're one with what he looks like right now. I mean, in the many dimensions of that. And that expression, even that John saw, one looked like the Son of Man shining with the brightness and the fire and everything, and his hair was white as wool and so on. That's an expression of the glorified body that we also then carry, and it's one expression of it. But if we are the same as he is because we are his wife, we are one with him, then isn't that we actually, out of increased union and communion and in him, we actually are being brought to that place of full transformation so that we engage the new earth as the new Jerusalem coming out of heaven, the bride's wife. I mean, Jesus' wife, Christ's wife.
I can confirm that, Michelle, because what I'd like to add is, when we were at those gates yesterday, Leanne said she saw a figure coming toward us and she sensed it was female, and I heard, and I didn't understand it at the time, pearl of great price. And then Lee said that later when we did that last encounter of the bride dancing with the bridegroom, she said she looked very closely at the gown and she saw it was covered in all these pearls. And then when I looked up the understanding of pearls, and pearl of great price, it says that a pearl is the heavenly Jerusalem. And we sense, because we saw ourselves glimmering and shiny, that we and all those other beings that was in this place where we were, where the river was, that we were all like pearls.
But this seems to be coming full circle now from where we started when we saw the translucent hibiscus. And I see this as everybody realizes that this is connected to Wednesday when we were showing who the bride was. And I think tonight, right now, it seems that we're being shown that the bride is being made translucent when we saw the translucent hibiscus, which means that it's a form of perfection. It means perfect woman or perfect bride, and that it happens when we go through the cities and then end up in the new earth. That's what I'm gathering so far. I mean, that's what's coming to me. I just wanted to submit that.
Simone, I resonate with that.
Yes, me too. Fabulous summary.
Yes, yes. And what I want to add is that when I got to New Earth, all of us were there, and Paul and Enoch, they look like they have finished their work. They have brought us here. They look like, wow, they made it.
So this is all going on in the is that right?
Yeah, but I've just seen now, for the first time, everything is in Metatron's cube.
Yeah.
So yes, we're in New Earth, but we're in, that's in all the other cities eventually are in that, which is in Metatron's cube. So it all becomes one.
Yeah, I totally resonate.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And I also think that the cities is to add up our glory from glory to glory. So we need to go through them all and get to the fullness of the fullness. Then we can see the glorified body manifest. I believe we can get to a point we can literally walk on it on earth here.
I do believe also we're being shown that, again, I feel this is connected to Wednesday. We're being shown further who the bride is and what's necessary for the bride, what the bride needs to go through in order to enter into immortality and New Jerusalem. I think it's a lot we're being shown here. Yeah.
I had an encounter about 1 or 2 months ago where I was in the realm of eternity and I was with the Father, and I seen my form change, and it was a combination of different things. It was fire, like Michelle said, but it was also transparent, like you could say, like water and wind and earth as well. And the body could it could be practically whatever you wanted it to be. And I got a confirmation with listening from Dr. O. I'm not sure if that is a resurrection body, but what the Father, I think it is, because what happened was when I had that experience, I actually asked the Father if he could show me this, if this was mentioned anywhere in Scripture, just for my reference. And what he said was, David had tapped in through the timeline, and he said that this is what David encountered when he danced naked, or just with a loincloth. And I didn't know that, because and he also told me before me actually going back and reading the scripture again, he actually told me that his wife, I think it was Saul's daughter at the time, she saw him dancing naked, and she mocked him. And the Father told me that because she despised, he actually used the word despised, because she despised what she had seen, which was the future, she was barren. So what he did was he cut off, you could say, her from having a future, or from her from having children, or being part of the future. So so I'm not sure if this is all pieces and parts of something that we're talking about, but this is what I experienced, but I never experienced that again. So and I don't really know. I think we can put on the resurrection body by faith, but I still don't know how to operate in that at all yet.
Can I ask you a question? I think when I experience the different bodies in the heavenly places, what you have described to me, that's experiencing different types of spiritual bodies, isn't it? So I think when we are saying glorified body, that component has to have our physical DNA involved as well.
Yes, which could be part of the earth. which is
that is the
something
part
Dr. O
that
said.
perfected,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the soul
So,
is in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure what that was, but that was something that I saw. So it could be Dr. O just mentioned it, and he didn't explain really what I saw. So, but then the Father gave me the encounter that David had, that he saw it in the future, and he was kind of like operating in it in his resurrection body at that time. So
Yeah.
that was interesting for me.
Sorry. I had a similar experience with David and the dancing. What the Lord told me was that when he danced, his clothes fell off, but literally his spirit came out around his body. And only those who were seen in the spirit could see and so glorify God for it. But the wife was seeing the physical. That is why she didn't see.
Yeah.
And what I got from that was that governmental acts, even like dancing, can dramatically change you into a different body just by dancing and setting your mind on the fact that I am dancing and moving into another realm. You can get there. That's what David did.
Yeah.
And he adapted the timeline, because that's what the Father said. So maybe it was a governmental action. Possibly.
Well, that's what I do. I find I have the moment I start sort of, I don't even have to physically dance with my body. I just spin
in your mind,
in my mind. But I mean, sometimes I do it physically, which seems to enhance it. And I also find if I put on some music, it opens a door, and I'm immediately in this amazing ecstatic state. But mostly, what's interesting is it isn't Christian music. It's like the Christian music is at a wrong frequency. So it has to be some plain music with no, like classical, with nothing.
Like classics.
Yeah.
Big time.
And it's, but it's something linked with David's way of operating. I can sense the music enhances the ability to get to that position very quickly. And then I'm in this spinning thing that I'm sort of opening a new earth. I'm opening up like a flower. It's like the Fibonacci spiral thing, and then I open like a flower, then I open up like stars, and then I everything, I sort of call everything in, and it seems to flow into me. I call it to come in. Everything from all the other realms come into this place, and then it flows into me. And the reason I see it flows into me is because I'm one with everything else. So it's not just me, it's flowing into everything else, but it feels like it's only flowing into you because you're one with everything.
Yes.
So the question I've got though is, are we immortal at this point? Or when are we immortal? It feels in a way, I don't know, it's very hard to feel that you're any different, but
I really feel that we are immortal if we believe it. But it's different than having a glorified body. It's different.
Yeah, I believe that with the immortal, we can step in anytime. It's up to our desire. We can step in it. I saw it like a garment. Like you were talking about dancing. When I have music in the background and I lift both my hands up, I sense my hands charged up like on fire, and a garment comes over me, and I see myself changed. But when I take my mind off it and do other things, I don't feel the garment on me. So I'm practicing to be like dual. That whilst my mind is on it, I'm doing other things.
Yeah, I do that too. I put it on by faith, just so that because I don't really know how to get back into what I had experienced. Like I can engage it, but I don't know how to continually live off of it. But I also know that once we are immortal, we know that because we don't need to eat and sleep and drink. We are no longer bound by the laws which on the earth, which we are bound to currently, because we'll be operating from a higher realm and operating under supernatural laws, is the way I see it.
There's a scripture to confirm that, what you said about putting it on patients, 1 Corinthians 15:53 says, "For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality.
Amen. Powerful.
Yes. Yeah.
And when it comes on, when you put it on by faith, with the music in the background or in your mind that you're dancing, it becomes like a heavy clock on you, yet not heavy. But at times it's like a warmth, a heat going all over your being.
Am I hearing correctly, though, that as good as immortality is, and it's definitely very good, that it's still not the final blueprint for the body that we're looking for? We actually need to look beyond that to this body in New Earth, correct?
I don't know if this is the right time to share it, but Jane, you mentioned about Metatron's cube, and I'm totally track with that. And it has to do with New Jerusalem and descending. And what I see is it has to do with also the spinning and the revolving door in New Jerusalem. That I see the bride just spinning and spinning. And so that it has to do with immortality, and that she's just getting whiter and whiter, but getting more milky and milky as well. So there's
Wow.
something with Metatron's cube that has to do with immortality.
Wow. Well, I'm asking, if we've had enough of this earth right now, we do not want to be in how we are. We want to disappear. Is this what we do?
Yes, like Enoch did. And you can always come back because you have your body. Jay, you don't want to come back?
If you don't want to come back, that's probably, maybe that's when that's when you fully live out of it 100%. If is when, because it's a very big decision if you decide you do not want to have any impact, isn't it? Like now as you are, and that's probably why most of us can only engage this sporadically, because we haven't made that decision that the other option is what we want. And so maybe we're always going to be in this half and half. It's never going to feel completely. And also at the moment we need to go into other realms to deal governmentally to bring the Earth timeline in. So we've got a lot of agendas going on, because I know there are just some people, just all they're trying to do is live out of this point. And we could do that, we could invest our whole time and all we do is think of ourselves and how are we going to have this ecstatic experience. And I know I have learned ways in the recent few months how I can find ways to get in ecstasy, and I feel this drive that I have to constantly think, how can I get in ecstasy right now? And I get it, it's getting easier and easier, and it also helps cope with as a painful situation. I can just be in this state, but I know it's not right that that's all I focus on.
Yes.
And so then I go back to eternity, or I go to infinity, or I go somewhere else, and then I go and govern for everyone else, because I'm not done with that as a mandate for me. I know that's big time on my scroll, and I actually believe it's on everyone's scroll if they choose it, but that's why I don't believe this is a place just to live out of right now, and we don't live out of it anywhere else.
I'm going to throw this out there. I engaged Elijah, who also was transfigured and didn't die. And he told me that he would actually engage me at some point on a mission or on missions that I would go through at times as a man in white linen. But he told me specifically that when he went on some of these missions, he would appear to me as a man. And I understand that what he was saying to me, he would actually go back into a body. And so I'm not so sure that Enoch and Elijah can't get their bodies and come back if they decide to at times.
So they'd just appear as a normal man, and you'd have a normal
That's what Elijah
conversation.
said. He would appear as a normal man.
Yeah, this is what I'm sensing, and I've actually been asking that a lot, and actually been asking them to approach me, and I'm saying I'm ready. I'm ready. It was so funny the other day. This man walked past me, and boy, oh boy, did he look like Abraham. He looked like everything that I thought Abraham looked like. And he walked right in front of me, and I was there going, is that you? Is that you trying to warm me up for this encounter that I won't be freaked out if somebody actually spoke to me? It was so weird. I mean, that's never happened before. I've never looked at anybody and thought that they are this person.
Wow.
Well, Jane, I need to hang around you because the only figure that's come up to me in the street lately was a giant Easter bunny. And as good as that was, I knew it wasn't what I was looking for. I did take a photo.
Well, I think it's because I mean, I've been asking myself, am I ready to see a transfigured body of anybody, of Jesus or of a man in white linen? And I wasn't sure I was. And then I sort of said, oh, I certainly don't want to see one like in the middle of the night or something that might be really spooky. And then I said, oh, I think I'm sort of ready if it was in the daylight. And then actually, I'm probably really, really not ready. I might be completely freaked out by it. So I felt like this was I was definitely ready for this. You know, if it came as a human being, I was ready. So I think that's what you've got to really ask yourself.
I don't think we ever are ready, Jane, in all honesty. You know, like Grace can say the same, and those others who have actually, you know, encountered Jesus stepping into this realm. You're not ready, but you go with the flow. It's like you don't really want to give birth, but you kind of in that place. You don't really have an option. But there's something key about this golden river, and and I'm telling you, it just starts to activate this process of translocations. That's what we found yesterday. Grace, Lisa, and I, we started sensing, you know, coming into each other's places.
Well, shall we just step in that golden river now and see if anyone could sense any translocation, any sense of anybody else with them?
Grace did some things like she touched my arm, squeezed my top right arm, and while I was sitting here like I am right now, I could feel the pressure. I could feel someone squeezing my arm. Now, I don't want to sound real spooky to people, but that's exactly what we were going through yesterday.
I've been practicing that for quite some time, so that I could do something in physical distance apart in different nations, but with my spirit being able to engage what's happening in physical places. And so I was just testing that with Lee last night.
I wonder if that's why we were seeing glimpses on people's faces, like we actually saw them with different nationalities in just like glimpses, and knew that they had come from other, you know, nations of the earth. Maybe it was also saying to us, not only are you going to be able to translocate up into new earth or the heavens, etc., but this place you're going to be able to translocate in this, you know, to meet the needs of other people on Earth. Like we do hear of people doing that all the time.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with that. But I just wanna add something here. I think it may be relevant. I have translocated in the spirit, but not in the body. But I did this before encountering the river of glory last year, or the river of gold. So I don't know if there's a connection between that, because I experienced the translocations before
I
encountering the
don't think
river.
it's necessarily connected to the river of the
Yeah, that's what I feel. Yeah.
glory.
I think it does. I think
But we
it's got
might have
something to
received
do
his
with the
glory
body.
though, because I have experienced him saying, enter into my glory. But I really wanted to help some people physically so far away, and I
Yeah.
couldn't actually be there. But I knew there was no, time and distance in spirit. But I needed to help them physically something. So I was practicing those things. A lot of things actually work if we actually engage with Jesus to do this. I just want to just leave it at that for now.
I think that's the key word, is to practice also.
Well, let's step into this river, shall we? Just see what you feel. I'm not sure where it is or where it comes from, but I have seen a golden river. I've seen a gold river come out of Melchizedek's golden mountain. So whether this is the same one, I have actually been in a golden, like molten gold, a lot. If this is the same one, I have been in it. Let's just immerse ourselves now in that. And Anybody getting anything?
I am, but it may be way off.
Oh, go on, sure.
I'll just put this out there. I was in the Gold River and I swam down and I saw that aquifer like we saw before. And on another encounter, and I saw Father there. And it seemed like he was on a throne, a gold throne, but his feet were down like the roots in the Gold River. And I started drinking the gold from the Gold River, actually. And I started to swim back up. And as I did, my roots and I turned into a golden tree. And I saw that I was arcing with Jesus, and he was a golden tree as well.
Wow. That's good, because I saw myself as a golden body when I came out of it, and I wonder if this is another body, is the golden body, which represents that we were made of gold dust. So it's another body.
It's a little bit. I've seen this golden spiritual body before, but it's a little bit different than a gold dust in a way. It's like tiny gold, like droplets lit up. Do you see that, or do you see it as a gold dust?
Yeah, no, I see it as more of a liquid thing than a dust.
Yeah, more tiny droplets, but they are very tight together, and it's lit up as well. I've asked the Lord before what it was, and He says that's how I made everything to start with. And I don't know how it. Yeah, I think this is one of the body for sure. And there's like also the silver kind of like starry ones, and.
It's very fluid.
And
there's become very fluid.
Yeah, and another one is very fluid, liquid-like, but it's not liquid. It can morph around very easy.
I saw myself as gold and translucent.
Oh, wow. That's almost like a combination. Oh, that's really interesting. Because I get the sense that the gold body was the very first body that it looked like when Father first breathed into us. And then something happened and we looked less like gold and we became this other body. And maybe this translucent thing is then more how we then transform into this more glorified state of that body.
That's what the gold looks like on the gold streets in heaven in Jerusalem. It's translucent.
Yes, of course. Gold, but yet clear. Yes.
Exactly. And that's how we looked yesterday when we went into the river. We was translucent as before we entered in, but we weren't as translucent as the other people there. It's because we discerned they had been there many times. But as we got into the river, we turned gold, but we were still translucent.
Is New Jerusalem, what's coming to me is New Jerusalem as the gold city, and how we're New Jerusalem descending. But I don't think I've seen New Jerusalem as translucent, but that's not to say that that's not actual. When I got into the Gold River, what I thought about was the Gold City, New Jerusalem.
There's some things on the chat.
Yeah, can you read them, Donna?
Sure. I believe it says, yes, Bob said there was in the Golden River, has a golden tree on the right bank. As I headed downstream, then eventually it leads to a golden waterfall, many miles high. And as I fall with the waterfall, it turns into golden clouds, and he was floating in them. And then Elizabeth says that one of the 7 that Melchizedek talked to her about was the golden body.
Wow.
And then I believe Lisa said like Mercury, and Elizabeth said yes. So we're getting some confirmation about the golden tree and the golden body.
Yes, yeah. And we must be up to identifying at least 5 bodies by now.
Is it possible that Elizabeth can tell us what those 7 bodies were?
She said she had to go and find the notes, so I don't know if she found the notes.
Oh, I see, I see.
But this is good, because being able to discover this ourselves is strengthening us and stopping us rely on someone else's teaching that might end up being, 80% right and 20% off. So let's keep persevering. This is good. And what about translocating? Did anyone feel they had a translocating experience?
I translocated into a place in Canada along a beautiful mountain stream, and there was an individual there, and I interacted, and they were kind of a Native American kind of person, and they were kind of on a spiritual journey anyway, and they just saw me as a spirit being, kind of interacting with them, and I don't know what they thought about it.
Wow. Did anyone sense any presence in there where they were, someone translocating to them?
Well, I did feel some heat and things on my body and some pressure. So I don't know if anyone.
Yeah, I felt a lot of people in my room.
I trans-relocated to another state to talk to someone. And when it was finished, I was back where I was.
Elizabeth says that she felt someone touch her right arm and squeeze, and she felt like she went to Lee's house. And that was before Lee said that, I think.
Well, I actually chose to go to your house, Lee. So that's interesting that you did discern some.
Yeah, and I was sitting here saying, Lord, what can I do or say so that people know I've called them here?
Oh, you called people. Oh, isn't that interesting?
I sent out a frequency.
Oh.
I was about to sing a song, and I thought, no, that doesn't seem right. So then I just went, and then the next thought was, relax, send a frequency.
Yeah. No, well, I obviously heard that because the first place I felt to go to was your house.
Well, Bill knows, but don't you, Bill? I mean, I've always said everybody's welcome here for potluck dinner. I've been for a long time.
Yeah, we framed that many months ago that Lee's house would be the place.
Yep, and the portal's here. I show people all the time where the portal here is to step out. So you're all welcome.
I was even trying to see what you were wearing, but all I could discern was red. Are you wearing anything red?
No, but that's probably the glowing heat. I actually felt my spirit man earlier was like Flash Gordon. That's the only way to say it. I felt my spirit man was just going all over the place,
Really?
really
Well,
fast.
isn't that funny? Maybe that's what I was discerning then. And maybe that's what you discern first over what clothes somebody wears.
Yeah, Elizabeth just said she saw me in a lot of blue around her flowers. Is that what you said? Flowers? I am wearing totally blue.
Hmm?
So there you go.
I kind of
And I,
resonate.
and I was holding hands with people, but I won't say who. If they felt their hands being sort of, squeezed. I was just doing all these things to see if people react after and say, oh, I felt this, I felt that. Because that's what we started doing yesterday, and I honour Grace for that, starting this off. So, to learn all this. I was actually swimming in the Gold River, and then I opened my eyes and I saw that I was actually swimming then in Leanne's pool, and I looked through her big glass doors and windows, and I saw her in the room where she is, and I saw about a dozen people also in the room with her. Well, I'll just go put on the kettle now.
Bill, did you feel anything?
Not consciously at this point, no. But I expected I was one of the 12 at her house.
Actually, I just wanted to share one more thing, and I resonate with something Carmen had said a couple minutes ago. And actually, I went to a friend's house, and I knew that she needed some encouragement. And I felt myself sitting in her living room. She's in another state. And then she came in there, and I put my arms around her, and she cried on my shoulder.
When I woke up this morning, I felt people also in my room. And I'm going to say this now, Lisa and Grace, I felt you come into my bedroom. And I felt there was a flow on from just what we started yesterday. So it's like we've opened up these expectations, and faith and all of this. And something just got activated yesterday in all of this, for me anyway.
I see you've got to really fight not closing your doors on this and saying this is silly, and it really is for those that can embrace the faith that this is possible.
I feel this activation still going on.
Yeah, this was activation.
Yeah, so do I, Doris. I'm just engaging that. Yeah, I saw you guys translucent, really translucent outlines, and it's kind of like, just engaging more and more and more, like a really translucent watercolor, and then it's just going to have more form and more form. And earlier as well, I don't know about anyone else, I actually feel like a pulling. I physically feel it. It's like, a pulling, a gravitational pulling force. And whether it means your spirit gets pulled first and your body goes with it, I don't know how all that works, but I was literally feeling that.
Well, that's really interesting you said that, because I was just about to say, I was asking where was this river. I like to place everything. I like to get a map going in my head. And I saw this river going down through the center of Metatron's cube. There's this kind of axis I see this axis, and I see all these 12 cities lined up on this axis, and all these revolving doors going off. And this, I sense this was like the reason we could translocate is because it goes through this Metatron's cube and through the revolving doors. And so what we're doing is we're opening these revolving doors to different dimensions when we're doing it. And that's why this place is a place to open those doors and translocate.
Oh my gosh, Jane, you just made me remember something I did do before in this encounter. I was reminded of the other day when Lisa and Grace went to wherever we went with the glory, that city, and we put our palms on Jesus's palms. His name went on our palms and our names went on his, and we got these gold circle things on our palms, and we knew we could open up doors. We went to Metatron's cube, to the revolving doors, and we poured out the glory down through all of those doors. And just before, and I'm wondering about if this is why you all came here, because I stood up and went into my tube that I have here, and I started pressing my palms against all those doorways again. See, we're gates and doors as well.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that to open up all the doors as well again. You know, it's that, I think there's there's the aspect of opening up those doors in the revolving doors of Metatron's cube, but that we are also part of that too. We're those doors as well that are opening. So, you know, there might have been a prophetic act there of opening up your doors. I don't know. Does any of this make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is absolutely, this is where I am currently. It's like, it's the most glorious place and I can't leave it. And it's a governmental position that does all the 12 strands are on the breastplate of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit and us. It does it all together in an accelerated form. So what you do when you go to the various cities, you open up things like, and you govern through justice, judgment, holiness, the way, the truth, and the life. But when you're here, you do it everything in one go. Well, you can do, and you just in this one, like you're at the center of this axis, and you are the doors, and but by opening yourself up and doing that governmental position, you are opening the doors as well, and it is just the most glorious place. It feels like that's where we were always destined to be, at this magnificent place of government, at the center of everything. It's just glorious. And I was like going back to these different cities yesterday, and then I was feeling like, wow, this is really slow, and like I got to go through this process of doing this in this city, and then I go through this process of doing that in that city, and everything, my spirit was going, no, I want to go here. I want to go here because I can do everything, because I've been doing this for quite a while now. I've been doing so much with the way, the truth, the life, justice, judgment, and holiness recently, and even really I probably have actually just been doing so much in the past and not realized it, to do with righteousness, joy, and peace, that I'm ready for this. I'm ready to be in this governmental position. I think this is when if you can see the journey of getting used, and this is why the cities are so important. If you're struggling with why go to these cities and why not just have encounters left, right, and center here or there, it's because these cities represent the pinnacle of who the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are, and who we are when we're one with them. So it's crucial that we actually understand and engage those words, and then we release that quality into the timeline, because that's what the earth is groaning for. It's the release of judgment, justice, holiness, the way, the truth, the life, righteousness, joy, and peace. The earth is groaning for that, so it needs the sons to understand these governmental positions and begin to release these massive qualities as doors.
What are our three strands?
Well, that's a really good question. I've been asking that as well, because we're not sure, but it could be linked with the fact that it's the body, soul, and the spirit. In which case, if that's true, this is why us asking about what the body is so important, because and us understanding these different bodies, because this is the elements that we're releasing. Oh, that's just come to me. We might actually be able to release the understanding of all these different types of body to the ecclesia and what they represent in terms of the stages of creation and also the stages of this is what we need a new page on, the stages of is it transmutation? Maybe that's what transmutation means.
No idea.
I'm not sure there's a difference between transmutation and transformation, but I get the sense this is what we're doing with transmutation. Is we're moving from one state of body to another when we're having all these heavenly encounters, and the more we flow with it, the more we allow this to go to this translucent state. And that's the journey, because it shows you where you've been, where you've come from. It shows you the big picture. And that's why it's so important. It shows you the big picture that's way bigger than most of us, would just sort of think, oh, well, we're just going to heaven and we're having this spiritual experience. It shows us the big, big picture, which then sets your heart afire for wanting to get back to that big, big picture and not settle at a lower experience.
Jane, can I say something?
Yeah.
That's what I got at the beginning, that all of these different transformations were within us, that the molecular setting within us from the body was more dense. And as we went through the phases of the different bodies to the one that was the last one, the molecular settings were very loose and not dense at all. Each phase had molecular settings within us already, and they had less and less denseness in the molecular settings that was within us.
Yes. Yes, I remember you saying that, and that makes sense now. I really get that. I resonate so strongly with that. Do you get the sense, does anyone get the sense that this is the right word, transmutation? I know I've heard Dr. O talk about this word, but I've no idea what he defines it as. Has anyone heard anyone talk about that word?
Jane, transmutation would be like changing one element into another, like gold into silver or lead into gold, something like that. So it sounds like the perfect term for changing from one type of body to another.
Yes. And so maybe that's why transfiguration is a different concept. Oh, I don't know. Or maybe.
No, I think that sounds right, because with transfiguration, the body's staying the same, but it's being glorified. It's being clothed in light, right?
Yes, I think yes. That's sounding right. And yet, then the transmutation is the deeper thing where we bring the body into this whole process and recognize these different states of the body.
Yeah, Elizabeth has placed a dictionary definition on the chat there.
Oh, can you read it?
Well, first off, she said, I feel the doors shifting and moving through me so quickly, and I sense 12 cities moving about me within my spirit all around me. And then she gave the definition, which is a noun, the action of changing or the state of being changed into another form. In physics, the changing of one element into another by radioactive decay, nuclear bombardment, or similar processes.
Wow.
And then Jen put a thing on here in his book, Chirito Soma talks about 7 transmutational power.
Wow,
Sorry, that's Christos Soma, Greek.
Oh yes,
Christos.
that's
sorry, yes.
yeah. I've actually got that book, and I could never understand it. But I always knew I had to keep asking the question: the significance of transmutational powers. I think we may have just opened up a whole new hunger now for really getting to grips with what transmutation is and why it's important, and the link with immortality, and also understanding, because everything all comes together. What we're seeing is all these different encounter groups that we think we have different scrolls, they're all merging, and there's becoming almost no difference between each, and everyone's got to really take a hold of each one. You can't say, oh well, that's not my scroll, that's not important. It all merges into one, and I think this is what's happened today, while we've had this conversation around cities, yet it's immortality and it's linked with health, but yet it all links in with the big picture.
There was a lot of framing that went on during the time that we've been talking this evening, and it's all been one giant governmental forerunning action that we've done together as a group.
Yeah, I think it's been really, we've covered a lot, and hopefully this recording will bring a lot onto the same page quickly. So is everyone complete? Do we finish at this stage?
I just would like to know, do I put on the kettle or shall I get out the big urn?
Maybe we should make an exercise here that we all translocate to your place, Lee, and see if you can discern us, and see who you can see.
That's a good idea. Jane, I wanted to ask you about your what you said about the music that you use. You said about music that's what, not out of tune?
Yeah, and not Christian, which is awful to say, but yeah, just something that's neutral, neutral music, no words, no. Although I can do it with words, I must say now, I have this experience. Any song that I really love and resonates and is a quality song that really means something to me,
yes,
and it comes on the radio, I'm suddenly like, it's a gate, it's a door opener, and I'm like, woof, and then I have this immense encounter. Yes. But I find if and then the words actually don't get in the way, because the words enhance, particularly if the words are saying something that's actually a spiritual concept as well. But then sometimes I can just ignore the words, but I can't with Christian. And then the moment I put a Christian one on, I'm into the old mindset of worshipping, saying those words, which is, I think, why it doesn't work. And also because it's vibrating at a lower frequency of where we're at. It's coming, and it's written from people who haven't had these encounters, so it's from a traditional wineskin.
Yes.
Yeah, but anything I find that's very stirring. I found this. I have Spotify, and it's got you can choose virtually any music that's out there. And one time I chose a space classical songs.
Yes.
And he put on all the really profound music that they use for space movies and things. And it transported me initially quickly into this amazing encounters in space, and I was doing all these things with the planets and the galaxies and all sorts. Oh, it was so funny. It's I think it's because you get so used to being a spirit being operating in this way that's why it can happen that way.
All right, good. I'm glad to hear you say that, because I have asked the Lord questions, and I'll be driving somewhere and I'll turn the radio on. I'll say, you got some information for me, Lord, and secular music comes on, and there's my answer.
Yeah, I think God can use anything. That's the wonderful thing once the gates are open.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, shall we turn the recording off?
I am doing that.